Have you ever heard a story so incredible, so touching, it almost sounds like a legend? Well, today I want to share one with you. It's a story about a mysterious dog, a stormy night, and an act of heroism that defies belief. This is the story of Shadow. In a quiet, remote town, there's an old wooden bridge that has stood for decades, creaking under the weight of time and countless travelers. For the locals, this bridge was a familiar landmark, but it also had a silent guardian. A large, dark-furred dog they called Shadow. No one knew where he came from. He wasn't a stray in the usual sense. He was always well-groomed, yet he belonged to no one. Every day, like a dutiful soldier, he'd patrol the length of the bridge, his eyes scanning the river below and the road ahead. He was a phantom, appearing at dawn and disappearing at dusk, a quiet observer of the world passing by. The townspeople grew accustomed to his presence. Children would wave at him, and some would leave out bowls of food and water which he would politely accept before resuming his post. He never barked, never wagged his tail for attention. He simply watched, a silent sentinel on his wooden perch. Some thought he was waiting for someone, while others whispered that he was the bridge's spirit. Little did they know, they were closer to the truth than they could ever imagine. One autumn, the weather turned violent. A storm of a magnitude no one had seen in years descended upon the town. Rain fell in blinding sheets, and the wind howled like a wounded animal. The river, normally calm and gentle, swelled into a raging, churning torrent, its muddy waters slamming against the bridge's old wooden pylons. It was a night when everyone sensible was indoors, huddled safely with their families. But not everyone was so lucky. A truck, trying to navigate the treacherous, rain-slicked road, approached the bridge. Inside was a father, Mark, and his young son, Leo. Mark was driving cautiously, his knuckles white on the steering wheel as he strained to see through the downpour. But as the truck's tires hit the wet planks of the bridge, it happened. The vehicle hydroplaned, skidding wildly. Mark fought for control, but it was useless. With a sickening crunch of metal and splintering wood, the truck smashed through the railing and plunged headfirst into the furious river below. The world turned into a chaotic nightmare of cold, dark water. The truck landed with a deafening splash, and the river immediately began to swallow it. The current was incredibly strong, dragging the heavy vehicle downstream. The few locals who heard the crash and dared to venture out stood helpless on the bank. They could see the truck's headlights flickering beneath the surface, a beacon of despair. Could hear the faint cries for help, but no one dared to enter the water. It would be suicide. The river was a monster, and it was hungry. Just as all hope seemed lost, a dark shape shot past them. It was Shadow. Without a moment's hesitation, he leaped from the bridge into the thrashing, icy water. He moved with a purpose and strength that was astonishing. He wasn't just swimming, he was fighting the river, his powerful legs churning against the current as he headed directly for the submerged truck. Mark had managed to break a window and was struggling to stay afloat, his strength fading fast. He saw the dog approaching and couldn't believe his eyes. Shadow reached him, grabbed the collar of his jacket with his teeth, and began the arduous task of towing him back to the riverbank. It was an epic struggle. The weight of a grown man, the pull of the current tit, was an impossible task, but Shadow refused to give up. He dug into the water, his muscles straining, until he finally dragged Mark to the shallows where the townsfolk could pull him to safety. Mark gasped for air, coughing up water, his body shaking from cold and shock. But his first words were not of his own safety. "My son," he screamed, his voice raw with panic. Leo, he's still in the truck. The onlookers' hearts sank. The truck was now almost fully submerged, and the current was pulling it further and faster. It was a death trap. How could anyone, let alone a dog, possibly go back? But Shadow didn't need to be told. He had barely caught his breath on the bank before he turned and, without a second thought, plunged back into the raging river. This time the journey was even more perilous. He disappeared beneath the dark waves, and for a terrifying minute there was no sign of him. People on the shore held their breath, their eyes fixed on the spot where he'd gone under. Had the river claimed its hero? Then, a ripple, and Shadow's head broke the surface. And in his mouth, he was carefully holding the collar of a small, unconscious boy. Leo. Shadow was weaker now, the double exertion taking its toll. He fought with every ounce of his being, a low growl of determination rumbling in his chest as he battled the torrent. It was a scene of pure, unadulterated courage. He finally made it back, collapsing on the shore as people rushed to take the child from him and begin resuscitation. But Shadow's mission wasn't over. As Leo coughed and sputtered back to life in the arms of his weeping father, the heroic dog looked back at the river. The truck was about to be swept away completely, which could create a dangerous hazard downstream. One of the men had a heavy tow rope in his truck. As if understanding their dilemma, Shadow picked up the end of the rope in his mouth. He swam back out to the sinking vehicle a third time, somehow managing to loop the rope around the truck's exposed axle. It was an incredible display of intelligence and strength. With the rope secured, the group of men on the shore pulled with all their might. Grunting and straining, they managed to anchor the truck against the current, preventing it from being lost to the river. The immediate danger had passed thanks to the impossible bravery of one dog. As the storm began to subside and the chaos turned to stunned relief, everyone turned to thank their savior. But Shadow was gone. He hadn't waited for praise or a pat on the head. He had simply melted back into the shadows of the night, his duty done. Mark, holding his son tight, stared into the darkness where the dog had disappeared, unable to comprehend the miracle that had just occurred. The next day, the story of the heroic dog spread like wildfire. Mark, desperate to find and thank the animal who saved his family, asked the locals about him. That's when an old farmer shared the bridge's secret. "That Shadow," he said, his voice quiet and somber. "A year ago to the day, his owner, a young man, lost control of his car on this very bridge during a sudden freeze. He didn't make it," the farmer continued, explaining that the man and his dog were inseparable. Since the accident, Shadow had returned to the bridge every single day. He wasn't just waiting, he was guarding it. He was watching over the spot where he lost his best friend, determined to prevent anyone else from suffering the same fate. He wasn't a stray, he was a guardian. It turned his own personal tragedy into a silent, unwavering vow to protect others. Shadow was never seen as just a dog again. He became a legend, a symbol of loyalty and love that transcends even death. He continues his solitary patrol on that old wooden bridge, a dark, silent figure against the rising and setting sun. He is a reminder that heroes come in all forms, and that the deepest love often leads to the most profound acts of courage. He is Shadow, the guardian spirit of the bridge, forever watching, forever protecting. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more incredible stories, and share this with someone who needs a reminder of the good in this world. I'll see you in the next video.